Hi, my name is David Bigley. I am a member of the board of directors of Cohasset 143 TV, which is the public access segment of the cable system here in town. By the way, if you have Comcast, you can find us on Channel 9. If you have Verizon, you can find us on Channel 37. I want to talk to you today about joining us as part of the board of directors. We are the group. We meet periodically and we sort of guide this ship to the direction that we'd like to see it going. And if you want to be part of that, we would love to have you. There's no specific experience required. However, if you have some particular background or experience that would lend to this effort, we'd really appreciate that. So if you'd like to get in touch, down at the bottom of the screen, there's both a telephone and an email address. For Don Royne, the director of the public access system. So give us a call, send an email, let us know why you'd like to be part of this and what you might bring to this effort, and we'd be happy to hear from you.
Welcome to another edition of Cohasset Common. I'm your host, town manager Chris Sr., and I'm here today at one of the most iconic locations in Cohasset, Sandy Beach. We'll spend some time with Annette Sawchuk, the president of the Sandy Beach Association, talking about the beach and its special place in Cohasset and Cohasset's history. We'll also have special correspondent Jack Cunningham at the Farmers Market, and we'll meet with some of our local business owners. Thanks for joining us today. Enjoy the show. With Annette Sawchuk, the president of the Sandy Beach Association. Welcome to Cohasset Common. Well, Cohasset Common on the beach, I guess.
There you go.
So,
there you go.
So thanks for joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you for coming and asking.
So Sandy Beach is clearly one of the most iconic spots in town, right? It's gorgeous. People come here in all seasons, and we're here obviously in the peak of the season, which is the summer. But I think one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is this is actually not owned by the town, but by a private organization, which is 102 years old now?
103 years old this year.
Okay. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so in 1917, there were a group of men in Cohasset, families and some lived in, split their time between Boston and Cohasset, but I think the majority lived in Cohasset. And they realized that as property was being bought up, Sandy Cove was being built, and there's so much ledge that there's not a lot of beaches. So, beach space. So they got together, they bought the property, and made it Sandy Beach Association. And they set up a trust, they set up rules and regulations, and that's how it started. And when they bought it, bought it in 1917, and then I believe it was around 1920, they built the first bathhouse, which was about 120 feet long. It was 2 full stories.
Wow.
Or actually, maybe not 2 full, might have been like a story and a half. But that's when people came to the beach dressed. They didn't come in their bathing suits.
So they had to go through the whole changing routine.
They had all the changing rooms, and they had lockers so you could have your beach chairs or whatever, towels or whatever you were going to sit on. Probably not beach chairs back then, but and so that stayed until I believe it was late 1969 or early 1970. It was almost 50 years. It was wear and tear, and it was kids were getting in the off season, starting little fires, having little parties, and so they decided they were going to set it on fire, and then they thought better of that and decided that they would tear it down. That's the rumor. That was the story.
That was the story. Good story.
That they were going to. That's what they were going to do.
So where was that on the property?
It was
right where
here.
we're sitting right now.
Right where we're sitting. It was here, and then it went that way.
Oh, wow.
It went to the north. So, after they tore it down, Roger Whitley was an architect in Cohasset, and he drew up the plans, got them approved, and they built the bathhouse that was here until we did this bathhouse. And so then they still had, and the bathrooms were were way oversized for what they needed to be, but they still had dressing rooms. Each bathroom probably had 5 or 7 dressing rooms and then 2 toilets and a sink. And people just weren't using them, and it was poor use of space, and they weren't handicap accessible. So we decided that 100th anniversary, that would be a good year to do a capital campaign. We sold the bricks to make the walkways to raise money, and the residents of Cohasset were extremely generous, and so we went to CPC, asked if we put up 50%, they put up the other 50%, and so they said yes, and it went to town meeting and it passed. So we were able to get it done with the help of CPC.
That's beautiful.
It is. I think it's gorgeous. And we added the snack bar. So over the years, particularly when it was the big old bathhouse. Now Wayne grew up here, so took swimming lessons on the beach, and so Mr. Buttman, who was like the caretaker, and he collected the money for the lockers, and he did all that. So he had a little place inside, and he would sell sodas and ice cream and crackers and chips and all that kind of stuff. And then, so he worked here, and I don't remember how many years he worked here, but he had said to the board, now I've been doing this for a long time, and when I retire, I'm not getting any kind of a pension or any of that. So the board told him that he would get $50 a month for the rest of his life. Well, Mr. Buttman didn't die till he was about, I think he was 102 or 103. So when I came on the board in the 1980s, I was treasurer, and so every month I would drop a check off at his house. He would have a little company. He'd have me in, or if it was outside, if it was in the summer, we'd sit outside and chit-chat. And so, yeah, so he collected this $50 a month for all that time. I'm sure the board that was the board then didn't realize that he would live that long, but $50 was really not a whole lot.
That was a nice gesture, and
yes.
It's nice to be out so long.
Right. Yeah.
So one of the great things about this beach is that it's open to all residents of Cohasset.
It is.
And people come here in all seasons too. So now we're here at really the busiest time of year, but people are here all year, aren't they?
They are. They come. They may just come in the morning and have a cup of coffee. And actually, when we built this little area here, and I came by one morning, it was about 7:30, and there were 4 or 5 people out here with their coffee and their newspaper, reading the paper. Or you might come down in the evening, and they're down here. There was a man one evening when I was down here, and he said, "I just want to thank you for having this space," because he had a walker, and he said, "I love the beach. I always came to the beach." He said, "But if it weren't for this, I couldn't come to the beach." So he can navigate the walkway, come here, sit down, and have his coffee here. So it's been great.
Little touches like this really make a big difference.
It makes a huge difference in people's lives to be able to come, and even just getting navigating the sand. I mean, if you're older and you have a walking issue or whatever, the boardwalks make a huge difference. So they stay down until usually around end of September. Then we roll them up so that if we have a storm, they don't wash away.
Right.
Okay.
So during the peak season is roughly, it's Father's Day to Labor Day roughly. Is that?
That's when we are open. That is when we have lifeguards on the sand. That the bathhouse is clean, bathrooms are open. The snack bar opens up. In the last couple of years, we have had lifeguards if they're around, and they tend to be, because we use mostly college kids. We will open on weekends. So the rest of the bathhouse isn't open, but you could come to the beach. There'll be a lifeguard on the beach, and that usually starts right around Memorial Day, and then Father's Day weekend that's when we open, and then Labor Day we have to close Labor Day because all of our help is gone. We hire mostly college kids for guards, but we also have high school kids for guards who will start at the beginning of the summer. They'll start part-time, and then by the end of the summer, when those kids are going back to school, they've had the whole summer. They've passed all of their life-saving things, and then they're ready to be able to sit in the chair all day long for 3 or 4 days in a row.
Has there been any consideration of trying to keep it up on the weekends with guards, or is that just not possible because of staffing?
It's not possible because they all go back to school. Because and this year particularly, a lot of colleges are starting even earlier. So Labor Day, and even after Labor Day, the high school kids go back to school and the sports start. So it's just we can't, and we don't want to be open. I mean, you can come to the beach, but we don't want to be open without lifeguards on the sand.
No, I totally understand that. People don't realize that as beautiful as it looks, there can be rip currents and it can be more dangerous than it appears.
Right. Or you swim out a little too far and then you realize you can't get back.
Now, one of the other things, so we happen to be here at low tide, and if you pan the beach and look, there's a lot of beach here, and you put a lot of people on. When it's high tide, which will happen, later today, there's a lot less beach. And we're in a different time now. Obviously, we're in the time of coronavirus. And one of the things that we've had to do, and we really appreciate all the work that's been done here, is continue to kind of manage the beach occupancy. Right? So if I have the numbers right, correct me if I'm missing this, it's about 1,500 people at high tide, low tide, and about 650 at high tide. Is that rough numbers?
I don't know what the numbers are. Glenn told me that. I think it's more than 1,500 at low tide.
At low tide?
Yeah.
But it's much less at high.
It's much less at high tide because the tide just comes up so high. And when with this low tide, before they did that dredging, that really extended our beach out. When I used to come here with my kids when they were little, I mean, we'd be way up here in the hot sands and the water would be looking at your feet when it was high tide. So that dredging really did help
Actually,
us
that's something I had forgotten to mention. So several years back, when the town was able to finally get that dredging done, what happened is the sand was dredged out and then pumped on the beach. There were lots of issues with that project. But the good part of it is that this beach got a lot of sand, didn't it?
It did. It got a huge amount of sand, and I was a little like, nah, it's coming from the harbor. Is that what we really want? But it was pretty clean. I mean, by the time they get that all the way around and onto the beach, it was a little bit off color, not quite as white as it was. One summer, the next summer, it was just like it beached out. It was just like it had been here forever.
So the history of the beach, as you said, it was founded and made a public trust. And so for 103 years, this beach has been run for the benefit of the people of Cohasset by the people of Cohasset.
Exactly. You have to be a Cohasset resident to be. And back in the day, in the very beginning, there were people who spent time in Boston, who worked in Boston, lived in Boston in the winter, and then came down here in the summer. But you had to be in Cohasset for a certain amount of time before you could be on board. If you weren't in Cohasset for, I want to say 5 months. You had to be 5 months of the year in Cohasset to be able to be on the board. And they had a lot of challenges, the same challenges that we have, with the trash. And in the beginning, the trash was buried across the street. Louis Bailey, who was the blaster in town, across the street, down on the corner, would come in and dig a pit, and the lifeguards would roll the barrels across the street every day and empty the trash. That's in some of the minutes from the records.
What year are we talking about with that?
Probably that was as early as the 1950s and early 60s.
Wow. Times have changed.
They have changed a lot.
Times have changed
a lot.
This beach obviously costs a fair amount of money to operate every year. You have to take care of the garbage, you got to pay the lifeguards, you got to clean the seaweed. So tell us about that. How does that work?
So in the beginning of the year, just before we open, we hire a contractor to come down and clean the beach. Now this year, we fortunately had collected a huge amount of sand. And if you look over at the two fences over there,
yep,
the sand was all the way up to the top, almost to the very top of the fence. So they were able to come in with the equipment and pull that sand out and put it back on the beach. And then the town, Atlantic Avenue was getting so narrow that they needed to pull back that sand back. And so they also dropped that sand back in the parking lot, and then we were able to put it back on the beach. So that gets done at the very beginning of the season. And now last week, we had a storm the week before. It wasn't really a storm. We had a couple of thunderstorms, but it pulled in a lot of seaweed. And it was from the south end here, about a little more than halfway down. And the seaweed was like thick. And I had came down a week ago, not this past Sunday, but the weekend, Sunday before, and we're losing a lot of real estate with all that seaweed because nobody wants to sit on top of the seaweed because it's full of flies and bugs and all that. So they came down and they cleaned the beach on Wednesday and Thursday of last week. and that's another cost. It's a lot of money to put that equipment.
So how do you raise money? So how does the beach support itself?
So the beach supports itself. We send out once a year. We send out an appeal letter, and the Cohasset residents are very generous. Although we only get about 20% of the population donates. Some of the people who do donate are very generous, and people, there are people that we know they donate what they could donate. We have somebody that sends in $3 cash every year. And you know what? We would rather have more people participate than we don't want people to think they have to spend a lot of money. Right. It's any amount helps us to raise the money. And then we have a certain number of non-resident memberships that we sell, and that started back. I think it was in the probably the mid-20s. They started doing that because they couldn't. They were also doing the same thing with sending out the letters and to get the money. And back then there was a problem getting all the money, and then then you had the crash, and then you had World War II, and so one of the things that they did to raise money also was they sold the lockers, and you rented the lockers out, and and so if you could rent a locker, or you could rent a locker and a dressing room, or you could rent just a dressing room. And then they started with the non-resident memberships also, because that was a way they had a number of people ask, and then they decided, well, that might be a good way for us to raise funds to be able to do it, because we have the beach cleaning. Today minimum wage is $12.75, so we pay our BMWs, beach maintenance workers, $12.75. So when you pay a beach maintenance worker $12.75,
This is obviously the beach doesn't fund itself. It requires the community to take part. As you were saying, the beach really relies on folks to contribute. And also you do some membership sales, which has been going on for, you said, almost 100 years.
right?
There's a little bit of revenue to that snack bar.
Now we have the snack bar. And this year the snack bar is a little different than it was last year. We are selling more prepared food. We use a restaurant in Hull to dine for, and she packages it up, and then we buy it from her, and then we resell it here. So we don't have any, we're not touching it at all. Instead of lobster rolls this year, we're putting lettuce in a cup with lobster salad or chicken salad.
You take it, you put it together yourself.
Yeah, we put that together, and then it's in the refrigerator. So yeah, so then it's not being handled. We're not trying to get it all out the window. We make some wraps ahead of time. Chicken Caesar wraps, we make them ahead of time. In the morning before people come in, there's one person here who does it, and that keeps a lot of the. And then we have all the the prepackaged ice cream and the candy and the soda and the drinks and the.
That's a strong kid.
I did. The water.
As a future BMW.
There you go. Friday, Saturday.
And that's, again, because of the challenges of this pandemic. We had a great cooperation early on.
No, I'm good.
Because people really use this in the spring, just to get out and get some fresh air and relax. And unfortunately, it started to get where people are using this as a playground. And people were having parties, and it's like, where this was at the peak of the pandemic, right, in March and April. And again, I want to thank you and the entire board for all the work cooperating, and we were able to keep the beach open on more limited hours.
Right.
But unlike some other beaches that closed, we were able to keep this open so people could come out and relax. And now, as we're here in the summer, what we've had to do, and again, thanks to the partnership with you folks managing the parking lot, we've been able to keep the beach at a manageable number of people, because it's really critical that we don't overload it, so we can keep everything open.
Right. And we have had to close the last 3 weekends. We've had to close, not because the parking lot is full, but because the beach is getting too crowded because of the tides. That's the biggest issue is the tides. Normally, if it was low tide, we may have only had to close it for an hour, but sometimes we close it for 2. And that's been hard for people who come down. They load up their car, they come down, they see spaces in the parking lot, and they're like, why can't I come to the beach? So that's been kind of a challenge.
We appreciate everyone. It's been a hard year, but it's been a very limited amount of closure. And again, as long as people watch the tide tables, I know you normally, who would ever thought about looking at those, right?
Right. Right. I mean, and some people, if you live in the neighborhood, you might just grab your towel and a chair and come to the beach. so that we've had a little bit of a problem with people dropping off from other towns. So they'll go to the north end of the beach and drop off. We have a sign there now. On Sunday, we put Saturday and Sunday. We put one of our BMWs down there to watch that gate. But it's hard. Even I mean, for anybody, even an adult, it's hard when you tell somebody that they can't come, and they keep coming. So it's we don't want to get confrontational. We don't want to do any of that. So sometimes it just ends up they just come.
Any favorite memories?
Yeah, there was one. So in kindergarten, used to be the half day. So if you went in the morning part of the time, you went in the afternoon the other part of the time. So in the end of the school year, Ryan, my oldest son, happened to be in kindergarten. So we would come to the beach in the morning. I would take a gallon jug because nothing was open because they hadn't opened yet. So a gallon jug of water, leave it in my car. The water would be hot. I'd throw it over him, and then I'd get him dressed and I'd drop him off at school.
So he had beach in the morning, school in the afternoon.
He did, and he took his hermit crabs to school for show and tell.
Everyone knows about the beach, but let's take a look at some of the other fun things here at the Sandy Beach. So I see as we walk in, and I see along the pathway here, we have these great messages. So tell us about this.
Yeah. So when we were doing our fundraising to build the bathhouse, we decided to sell bricks as part of the fundraiser. And you could go online to the brick company and you could put in exactly what you wanted. You could pay for it there. And then we closed it off at the end of last summer. Beginning of last summer. We got this part done in the front walkway, and then we opened it up probably the middle of the summer to the end of the summer, and then we took it all the way this way too. We had a lot of people who didn't get in on it in the beginning who wanted to get in. So.
But at this point, you're closed down. Thank you very much for sharing Sandy Beach with us.
Thank you for asking us. This was great. Thank you.
Now let's go to special correspondent Jack Cunningham, who joins us from the farmers market.
You cook it or either we're on.
So I'm Justin from Thank You Popcorn, and it's our first year at the Cohasset Farmers Market. So we weren't really used to what it was like before, but the one thing that's really different for us is having 2 tables that we have to set up with every day versus setting up with 1, just to give us that social distance between us and the customer. The other thing is we can't do sampling, so we really have to sell it, people on the product and hope that they're willing to try it and buy it buy it before they try it versus before when they were trying it and then they would buy it after that. So that's a big change for us too in how we sell our product. But overall it's been really going well. We love having the crowd out here and getting to know the people of Cohasset, and we appreciate everybody coming down to the market. Have a great day.
Now let's go to Larry Corthell, the president of the Cohasset Chamber of Commerce, who talks with the owners of Seabird Coffee and Lenny's Hideaway.
Hi, it's Larry Corthell from Hingham Savings and Cohasset Chamber. We're here with Brian McLaughlin from Seabird Coffee, and we did a talk a few months ago about COVID and when it first hit, so we're just doing an update on where the business is at now and how you're doing.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. So Seabird's doing great. Despite all of what we've all gone through, we're still having an incredible outpouring of goodwill from the town. We've been focusing the last few months on roasting our own coffee, which has been definitely kept us in the interest of people's minds and also been great for the business. I think it's been a troubling time for most people, but I think adaptability has been kind of the key to success here. So as business owners, we have to learn how to pivot when we have to and keep ourselves relevant. So for us, we've had this little pass-through window. It's been working out great. We'll see what happens in the fall, but for now, I'm focusing on trying to get an online subscription open for people so they can buy our beans online and we can have them shipped to you. and just focus on just providing great coffee and still a great experience with limited resources.
And you're doing all the roasting locally.
We roast all of our coffee at 12 Parking Way. We have a coffee roastery, which hopefully will be open to the public at some point. But as of right now, we've got a 6-kilo roaster that's cranking out beans for us.
Great. I know I see a lot of your social media posts, and you've got quite the following of people, so it's great that you're open, and we always see lines up the sidewalk for the business, so that's good, and we're very, very pleased.
Well, don't forget Donut Fridays. If anybody's looking for a donut on Friday or something to do, come in and join the fun.
Very good. Thank you
very
much.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, it's Larry Corthell from Hingham Savings and Cohasset Chamber, and we're here with Stephanie Burke from Lenny's Hideaway, and she's going to give us an update on the roof deck, the restaurant hours, and the new eating area on Stagecoach. Hi, Stephanie.
Hi.
So, tell us what's going on at Lenny's.
So Lenny's is open now. We're open for dine-in and take-out. We're open Tuesday through Saturday, 2 till 10. We have our outdoor dining area that has mostly, we will sit 4 people here. We have to adjust according to how many people are sitting here throughout the day to make sure there is the proper spacing, but we can sit, singles, 2 tops, 3 tops, or 4 tops. Then we have picnic tables that we can seat up to 6. We have 2 on the deck here, and then downstairs in the courtyard, the town of Cohasset has granted us an extension, so we have 5 picnic tables down there that can seat up to 6 people each.
Wow, that's great. When was the area downstairs, down on the Stagecoach, done over? Last month?
Last month, yeah.
Looks great. Anything else? So 2 to 10, Tuesday through Saturday. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we had to experiment with that a little bit, figuring out childcare and what worked best for the family, and then also we found that a lot of people were coming out to eat after the beach and wanting to come in, so the business from 9 to 10 has been actually pretty good.
So Lenny's is open.
Thanks for joining us on this week's edition of Cohasset Common, and thanks to all who made the episode possible. From Sandy Beach, Chris Sr. with Piper and Mercedes. A couple of cool drinks to end the show. Next time you're down, don't forget, enjoy the day.
Hi, I'm David Bigley. I'm on the board of directors of the Cohasset 143 TV, the public access cable channel. I wanted to talk a little bit today about what you can do. This is called public access, and the public is you. And we have the equipment. We have, we have a studio. Right now it's sort of off limits because of this virus thing, but there is a studio. There's plenty of portable equipment. You can get out onto the street, go into your home, make videos of whatever you think is important and you'd like to share with your neighbors here in town. It can be a political discussion, it can be some activity that your kids are involved in, it could be you cooking your favorite recipe at home, whatever really excites you and you'd like to have on TV. At the bottom of the screen are an email and a telephone number, telephone for the studio, and an email for Don Royne, who is the page director here, and he is the person who would conduct the training at a safe distance, sanitized equipment, all of that. But it's a mechanism to put the control of the media into your hands. So give us a call, send an email, and we're happy to talk further about it. Be safe.